Hey guys, Foxy the Power Gamer here. Today I have something a little different for you. Today I have built a bionicle bowl MOC. No, I'm serious. Look at this. Look at that. That's like easily like a foot and a half to 2 feet of bowl right there. Well, that's a lot of bowl. Hint, hint. Now I just built this yesterday, but I didn't get around to reviewing it until today because it took me all day yesterday to build this damn thing. So it's going to be interesting. I tell you what, it's going to be interesting. Now I managed to build this with two different gear functions in mind, believe it or not. You know how how bowls do the like where they kind of like drape, not drape, but kind of scratch one leg across the ground before they come and charge at you. I managed to incorporate that right here on this little hinge, like that, doing that. It's like they scrape the ground a couple times and then they charge at you. But also in the jaw, I managed to incorporate a jaw closing gimmick. Hello, how you doing? Hello. Yeah, this took me like all day yesterday to build, so yeah, and yes, this is a transformer. I am not kidding. This is a transformer. Now there's a lot of parts and pieces and whatnot, and I had an extra mask, Skull Scorpios to be exact. And this uses the sets Mask Maker versus Skull Grinder, Skull Scorpio, Skull Warrior, Skull Slicer, and Skull Basher. So it uses all of the Skull villains except for Lord of the Skull Spiders, which that set is being a bit to find, so it'll be a while before I review that set. So without further ado, let's get on to transforming and breaking this down. So why the hell not? I'm going to slide up the head, and it actually came out with the connector port this time. So this is the head, and believe it or not, Akimu the Mask Maker is what I used with some extra parts to build this. So I'm gonna move that back there while we get to look at the head. Now to transform the head unit into Akimu, I'm gonna come underneath, pull this out like so, pull one of the legs to release the connector port, which this is the connector port. Really simple build, just a bunch of CCVS pieces with a couple connectors. And this piece is with Skull Scorpio, so if you don't have Scorpio, you can't build this. So there's that. I'm going to pull the legs down, spin the knees, and spin the feet. Like that. And because of the jaw, I used the feet from Skull Warrior and this feet from Akimu. So you need Skull Warrior and Akimu if you want to build this, along with Skull Warrior and Slicer because of the claws. So you need everybody to build this. So yeah, split this in half, straighten the arms, pull the arms down and around, and remove that extra piece. Turn up the head. He does have a mask. It's the Mask of Creation. I just gotta grab it here in a minute. And then the feet, pull them back on the ball joints. Close up the small claws and then the larger ones. I just turn it down the best I can, like that. There's Akimu, pretty much. Akimu the Bowl Master, if that makes any sense. And the head, pretty simple construction. The traditional armor on the chest, two black connector ports, and of course now that I disassemble it, I can't reassemble it. There we go. Then the gearbox is entirely for the gear gimmick, and that's a brown peg, and on the other side those 4 long gray rods with the flat pieces on the end. and then one of those from Skull Warrior, I believe it is, and then a 5 long gray connector, and then the rest you guys I'm sure you can figure out. So give me a minute. I'm gonna grab that piece of resistance, but make sure you can stand up first. And the tail, I'm just gonna bring the entire hunk of bowl here. Yeah, Mask of Creation. Kimu. So that he shall have a face. Come to the back. Untab that extra section, which is just a bunch of pieces slapped together, and a Glatorian neck with a bunch of other pieces for the back and the tail. So yeah, it's just an extra piece. Let me get to the uncombining, which this is going to be a bitch. So I'm going to come underneath, drop this section off, which is Skull Grinder. I'm going to put those connector ports back in. The section that he just unconnected from was Skull Warrior, because the dark gray mask. Here's the section that Skull Grinder turns into. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to turn the legs upwards due to the gearbox. Fold up the feet claws. And just straighten up those crotch bits. And you can fold the claws down for while he's on a carpeted surface. There's probably going to be a part 2 to this. Going to lift up his head, and yes, his mask wants to come off all the time. So there's the head. Fold out the arms. Completely unfold the arms. Yeah. Skull Grinder. And his construction is, well, it's pretty basic. I mean, his primary function was the gearbox. So, I mean, you have one of these for the leg, and you have one of those long pieces with a Technic connector at the end. See, like that. That is actually a rod connector bit on one end, and then a Technic axle on the other. And the other side is the same thing, just minus the gear bit. And because of the dual function on the gearbox, I can make it look like you can kick somebody. 'Cause why not? 'Cause Skull Grinder can be a dick if he doesn't have his coffee, so he can kick his brother Akimu around. And yes, I know Makuta is Akimu's brother, but I use that as a reference. So, alright guys, I'll see you in part 2, because there's no way I can do this in one video. Alright guys, see you in part 2.